Hello everyone, welcome back to another recall session. So today we're going to discuss with you about the physiology recall questions of NEET PG 2022. So let us start discussing the questions. So the first question is, a person after sleeping overnight with the arm under his head now experiences paralysis but no numbness in the morning. Which of the following is the best explanation for it? So there are mostly three types of nerve fibers: A, B, and C. Then you have to find out what is the sequence of nerve fibers to the exposure to the local anesthesia, to exposure to hypoxia, and to exposure to pressure. So, for local anesthesia, you can remember that the most susceptible nerve fiber is type C nerve fiber, then intermediate susceptibility is type B, and then it is type A. For hypoxia, you can remember a mnemonic. हाइपोक्सिया से भागो means B is more susceptible than A, then more susceptible than C. So for hypoxia, B is more susceptible than A, then more susceptible than C. And for pressure, you can remember that get to basics under pressure. So basics are A, B, and C is the sequence of this alphabetical order. So type A fiber is more susceptible than type B, more susceptible than type C. So let us look at the options. The first option is C fibers are more susceptible to pressure than A fibers. This one is wrong because A fibers are more susceptible to pressure than C. The next option is A fibers are more sensitive to hypoxia than B fibers. This one is also wrong because B fibers are more susceptible to hypoxia than A fibers. The next option is A fibers are more susceptible to pressure changes than C fibers. This is completely true statement because with the mnemonic that we have remembered, get to basics under pressure, A fiber is more susceptible than B is more susceptible than C fibers to hypoxia. And the last option is A fibers are more susceptible to hypoxia than C fibers. This one is also true statement. Okay. Now we have to decide what we have to choose as the right answer. So we have to look at the question. After sleeping overnight with arm under his head, now experiences paralysis but no numbness in the morning. Means this paralysis is due to pressure changes in the nerve fibers, and this happens due to pressure component on the nerve fiber. So the option number C, A fibers are more susceptible to pressure changes than C fibers, is the right answer. Okay. The next question is, which of the following mechanisms is seen in baroreceptor reflex? So they are asking about baroreceptor reflex. This is a simple, straightforward question. Negative feedback mechanism is seen in baroreceptor reflex. Okay, because increase in blood pressure that sends the signal to the brain via baroreceptor, and baroreceptor produce a changes of vasodilation, venodilation, hypotension, bradycardia, and decrease in cardiac output. Okay, so the answer here is C, negative feedback mechanism. The next question is, the image below depicts which of the following types of cell to cell signaling. So this one is signaling cells. This signaling cell releases signals, and these signals only affect target cells which are located in close proximity to it. Okay, so this type of cell to cell signaling is known as paracrine cell to cell signaling mechanism. Okay, so the answer here is option number A, paracrine signaling mechanism. The next question is, which of the following statements is true regarding the given cystometrogram? So in x-axis they are representing intravesical volume, and in y-axis they are representing intravesical pressure in centimeter of water. There are three phases given in this cystometrogram. The first phase is 1A. 1A representing initial slight rise in pressure when the first increments in the volume are produced. The next phase is 1B. It is long, nearly flat segment till further increments are produced. And the last phase is phase number 2, which represents sudden sharp rise in pressure as the micturition reflex is triggered. Okay, so let us look at the options. Segment 1A is due to residual urine. This is wrong because the segment 1A is due to initial slight rise in pressure. The next option is segment 1B is due to Laplace law. This one is completely true statement. In bladder, tension increases when the bladder gets filled. So the radius is also increases. There is only a slight increase in pressure until the bladder is relatively full. So this is the representation of Laplace law. That means pressure is equal to twice the wall tension divided by radius. Okay? And that is the representation of segment 1B. The next option is micturition fails to happen in segment 2. No, segment 2 is due to micturition reflex. Okay, so this one is wrong. The last one is the dotted line represents that micturition has occurred. The dotted line represents pressure volume relation if the micturition has not occurred. Okay, it does not represent that micturition has occurred. Okay, so this one is also wrong. So the answer here is option number B. Segment 1B is due to Laplace law. The next question is, in a patient, the hypothalamic thermostat was reset from point A to point C as shown below. Which of the following happens in stage A compared to stage B? So this is the effect of changes in hypothalamic temperature set point. In x-axis it represents times in hours and in y-axis it represents body temperature in Fahrenheit. So let us look at the stage A. So in stage A, body activates various heat gain mechanisms to match the hypothalamic temperature set point. These mechanisms are shivering, vasoconstriction, increase in chemical thermogenesis. Okay. In stage B, hypothalamus activates various heat loss mechanisms to match hypothalamic temperature set point. These mechanisms include vasodilatation of the skin blood vessel, sweating, and decreased thermogenesis. Okay, so they are asking actually what is happening in stage A compared to stage B. So the actions happening in stage A compared to stage B is shivering, vasoconstriction, increase in chemical thermogenesis. So let us look at the options. Shivering, yes. Sweating, no. Increased blood flow to skin, no. Inhibition of chemical thermogenesis, no. Increase in chemical thermogenesis is seen. Sweating, increased blood flow to skin and inhibition of chemical thermogenesis is seen in stage B compared to stage A. But they are asking what is happening in stage A compared to stage B. So shivering is the right answer. So option number A is the answer. The next question is, a 65-year-old man suffered from a stroke 2 days ago. He now presents with involuntary, violent and flinching movements of limbs on one side. What is the likely site of lesion in this patient? So this is the presentation of involuntary, violent and flinching movements of limbs on one side, which is suggestive of hemibellismus, and that is due to subthalamic nuclei lesion. Okay. So the answer is option number A, subthalamic nuclei. Okay. So with this, we complete our recall session. So thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.